How to travel on a dime. This is the request I got. Asked you guys a bunch of questions. How to travel on a dime, how to travel cheap, how to travel on a poker chip. A dime sounds like ridiculous. How can you do it for free? So let's jump right into this episode of MoneyBru tips and tricks. And I'm going to show you everything from budget travel to free travel to you name it. Let's just go right into it. Enjoy this episode and I'll see you in the different segments that come up on this episode. I actually filmed one of the parts in Florida when I was traveling, and my wife and I travel a lot, sometimes for free, sometimes we spend a ton of money. Let's get into it.
The first thing today I want to cover is something called woofing. You can also travel for free with certain hacks. So let's dive into some of those things. I bumped into a guy who was a photographer who took photos of me just out of randomness, and I'm gonna link him here. His name's Clint Melson from the Letterbox Studios on Instagram. Check his stuff out. And then his son Jack and Stills, check his stuff out. The reason I bring him up is because he's got a nomadic lifestyle, traveled the United States in a van, takes photos. Him and his family kind of grew up like that, and they work from anywhere. So that's one thing, but there's also people like us who have families and kids, and that's just like way unrealistic. So I'm gonna get into things that are more realistic. Right now I'm gonna share my top 10 places that are inexpensive to travel to. And at the end, I'm gonna share the favorite places, my personal favorite places I've been to. And I've traveled quite a bit. I've been lucky enough to do it. My wife is really good at travel, and she's kind of helped me understand what is good travel practice. I think as a guy, sometimes we get too distracted and we forget about like what is really important about traveling, okay? So let's get into that. The thing I wanted to mention about the photographer is you make a connection while traveling, right? So you can make that connection, use that, don't be shy, don't like go into your shell, like get out there and like learn who's around you when traveling. You never know who you bump into, what connection you'll make, and what cool people you'll meet, right? So I met him, he did free photography for me for the podcast, and I'm just pumping his stuff on Instagram of like, hey, go check him out. So very cool connection. Keep doing those connections while you travel. Okay, so here's the list of the top 10 places to travel, and I'm gonna read them out. Cape Town, South Africa, amazing wine, amazing animals. Ecuador, Thailand, Budapest, Sri Lanka, Ile de la Réunion, a French island. I went there in an exchange program, very nice French environment, Creole as well as a language they speak down there. Mauritius, Argentina, Cambodia, Greece is really good because of how they went through like quite a bit of a recession as a country. And then the Philippines. Two of our accountants work from the Philippines, amazing people, amazing culture, just some of the best people you could ever meet. And then obviously Zimbabwe and a cruise. Well, I'm joking about Zimbabwe, but I think it could be fun to travel to. I mean, if you had a wheelbarrow of cash running around, they had a big, like government just kind of ran that country into the ground. But you had to pay for like bread with a whole wheelbarrow of money. And like you could literally wipe your behind with paper money because it's cheaper than going out to buy a roll of toilet paper. So carrying on. To all of you who commented and gave me the idea to do this specific video, I have like 6 videos I was gonna do and this one came up. So thank you to Zach and Amanda Haig, Gabe May, Leona, Joel, Derek, Tammy Reed, Ryan Predo, Erin May, Cody Allen Smith, Vanessa Weir. She's into fashion, she's my aunt. Very cool stuff that she does all over the world. And Bianca Falster, thank you so much. Definitely check out their stuff as people and businesses out there. I want to showcase you guys too. So this is what this content's all about. I want to showcase, not just my stuff, but other people's stuff too. So if you want to be on the podcast, let me know. I'm looking for people who are influential and really moving the needle in the space. You don't always need to fly. You could drive somewhere, right? Local, get out there and see what's around you. I think people get hooked up on, oh man, I want to travel and fly everywhere. And the thing with that is not everyone's gonna fly or want to fly with a family. So you can get out there and drive. There's trips that like are 4 hours away from you. I've done, places here like Keystone, Breckenridge, some of the most amazing local trips. Sand dunes, like it's insane. In your hometown, there's always stuff that you've never explored and you need to go out and explore that. In that driving experience, there's a few things you can keep in mind to make your traveling much cheaper. Pack light, spread your trip out. Less stress equals less money lost. This is so freaking true. Like you will always waste more money when you're stressed out. So very important. Don't be stressed when you travel. Take it really easy, take a deep breath. Kind of a simple one, everyone knows about that. I am gonna show you how to travel free, and there's a few little pieces to that and you're gonna wanna stack each of those strategies. When driving, fill up at the cheapest gas station you can find, petrol station for my other folks in other parts of the world, petroleum, and just get the cheapest gas and keep repeating that if you can. As an insane hack, you could buy a car. Let's say you live in Kansas, you're not in Kansas anymore. You drive a new car or used car that you bought that's very high demand in New York, or drive it there, put it up for sale, and then sell it like while you're wherever you're at and come out ahead financially. Like if you don't have a car, then you can do that. If you still don't have a car, you could rent a friend's car out, travel with their car if it's a better car to travel. Maybe it's a minivan or a bus that's like super decked out. Leverage, don't abuse your friends, right? Like request to see if you could use it and do it, and use their vehicle to do a travel trip with. Always a fun thing to do, or bring them along and, you know, do something where it's collaborative. Don't just like force yourself on your friends. Should you get a rental car? Should you not get a rental car? How do you travel? And how do you save when you are traveling? That's gonna kind of make your trip more enjoyable and less stressful. So the first thing is, yes, should you get a rental car or not? And I would say if it's a busy area, you shouldn't get a rental car because of traffic. It's gonna slow you down. Then you have to find parking. If you can't find parking, you're gonna pay for it. You can always Uber, you can always cycle. If your resort is right on the beach, or if it's close to all the destinations you wanna check out. This is something my wife and I always do. We love to just explore from where we're at and take advantage of the amenities that each resort has. Now, this is a no-brainer for most people as well. Secondly, if you are gonna fly, try and fly in a random time and check in at a random time, because sometimes what can happen is you could be able to get a room prior to your check-in, so you could do a pre-check before the actual check-in, and if they have a room available, you could get that room. And one of the rooms that usually are available are the accessibility rooms. It's those rooms with the bars and things like that. It's not a big deal to get those rooms, and you can always shuffle around. Secondly, if that's not available, you could leave your bags at the resort, because you've seen those people who are walking in New York or walking at a resort and they've got their luggage with them. It's kind of uncomfortable, so you don't want to do that. Lastly, you could use the deals on Google as well as third parties, as long as you confirm with the hotel that they can accept those bookings. I know we've saved quite a bit on trips we've done where we've just done that. Always pack lighter, no matter if you're driving or flying. The lighter you pack, the more money you'll save, not just on baggage, you know, kind of obvious. I think we always overpack. We pack more than we need. If you have two of something, it's unnecessary. You just need one of a specific item. A backpack, if you can, phenomenal for a family. Each of them carries their own backpack, right? Very simple way. Now let's get into more money strategies, things that you guys really want to know about. Let's talk about credit cards. You can use credit card points or sign up points from any company. We can talk about deals. I'll jump into my computer and show you right now like some of the strategies I use to really optimize how you are leveraging points in order to travel more and travel more frequently. There was one other travel advice thing that we didn't mention, which is you never really want to travel on your debit card. What you want to do is travel on the credit card. That way you can reject or counter any like miscellaneous or malicious activities that you don't want to mess with. That is a very good strategy to avoid any of those problems or things like that. And of course you get those points. So if you're not good with credit cards though, I would go on the cash system. The cash system is just using envelopes. You keep money in envelopes for every day and you don't spend more than that. So that'll keep you on budget, and you can write a word on there that lets you know what you're investing or spending your money in for the time of travel. Something amazing about credit cards too is if you have a really good one like American Express, you have access to their premier lounges. And those lounges, sometimes you get free food, you can get free drinks. That's gonna save you a ton of money. Plus it's gonna help you relax, right? Save more money when you're relaxed, because then you can think straight. Obviously you can save up money for a trip and then take the trip. Now, you couple that with a bunch of deal hacking strategies. It's important to have cash because you can tip people, you can, if there's an emergency, you can grab it and go. You can do things like that. The other thing you can do is exchange at a higher rate. So sometimes, a currency is lower or higher on a certain day. Before your trip, go and exchange that currency. On a very high day, you can check the numbers of the currency, go to that country, you'll have a higher amount of money. Easy way to hack and have more money when you travel. Now obviously be safe. If you get mugged, you lose money. Traveling doesn't become free anymore. So dress down, be casual, kind of like the cheaper you look, or like if you don't look rich, People aren't just gonna approach you to like, you know, oversell you. They're not gonna try and mug you when you're out on an excursion necessarily. If you got raggedy camera equipment or you have an expensive laptop, throw it in like a backpack that looks really bad, has scratches on it or has stickers on it, just something really random and bizarre. Don't look like a tourist, right? Save money like that. Something I wanted to mention too is this is a huge way to travel, is to pool with friends and family. You could do an annual trip, and I know our family does this. You can like pool together, form a business or a trust, and then put money in together and divide it up for an annual trip every year. Everyone benefits, and you can literally stay in a mansion for a lot less or a much nicer place than you usually would because you've pooled together. That is so effective. And it's so much fun because you get to enjoy it with everyone, right? It's boring to travel alone. Some people it's amazing, but I like to travel with people. Now you can also make money while traveling. And what I mean by that is you could literally as a family or however decide, you know, for 2 months, and I think it depends on your schedule, but for 2 months I'm gonna retire for a bit, I'm gonna teach scuba diving, I'm gonna get certified, I'm gonna stay in a place that I love. Like you've traveled now to like these places, and let's say Cape Town, South Africa, you're like, man, I wanna scuba dive with the sharks, make some money, just relax, work from Cape Town, you know, do whatever you need to do down there. You're gonna have to work odd things, you know. You can do au pairing, which is like looking after kids. You can look after people's animals. You can look after people's houses. I used to look after a doctor's house in my hometown, up in a like rich neighborhood, and I was still working multiple jobs, but it really got me ahead of certain things and I made extra money. You could also clean, you can clean Airbnbs, Verbos, maybe you get a free stay. Some people, like I know of this place in Brazil where the gentleman said to me, hey, my family would love to have you there. You could stay for free, just help us on the farm. And that's like super cool. You learn about the Brazilian culture. You kind of really expand your horizons, right? You got to think outside of the box with that kind of stuff. You can also couch surf, super dodgy. People do it. I mean, people do it who are very trustworthy and friendly and don't care, you know, too much about people in their spaces. Sometimes they're lonely and they're just looking for friends or people to interact with. Or they're very wealthy and they just have extra money and extra rooms and want to be generous or meet new people, you know, things like that, learn a new language. You can definitely leverage that as a family or as an individual. I think a lot of people say in these videos, you know, save money by eating at like cheaper places. I think that's a great tip, but it's not really effective because let's be honest, we love eating food and we love enjoying a good meal with friends or people or strangers or however that may be. Finally, if you are gonna eat out and you are gonna spend money, to kind of figure out when do you want to spend the most money and when do you want to spend the least money. The days you want to spend the least money and more on travel, you should, you know, go have burritos, or you should have a quick snack that can keep you going. And something my wife is strong about is having 2 meals. So you do breakfast and early dinner. That way you don't have to get breakfast, lunch and dinner. I like to sometimes skip breakfast, you know, have a small lunch, but then have a huge dinner that's like super decked out. You know, it's like the most amazing sushi spot on the beach or the most expensive steak restaurant. You can afford it now because you've saved that money to leverage it just for that evening. Instead of eating like 3 big meals all the time, you're kind of like bloated. We always explore and ask the locals for what deals, or like, is there a catamaran we can take that's the best on the island? And things that have happened during that is like locals have pulled out fish out of the ocean and just like fed it to us right in front of us on a beach, and we trusted them and it was fine. We also had like, you know, them pull out conch, which is these really cool shells. We ate it raw, which was like a crazy experience. You know, we did some stuff like that in South Africa where we took a bus and just like went to different wine routes and asked the locals, what do you like? Instead of just looking at Expedia, when you get to the location, that's when you're gonna find the most deals is from the locals. Especially if you ask around enough, you'll get a good pricing down. Another tip you could use is one-way flights or booking flights in combination to each other. A lot of times you're gonna do the round trips and it's gonna limit you. I always like to tick off, you know, hey, I want one-stop flight to this location, check that one, then find another flight that's also one way. You can also do stopovers. Like a good one for South Africa is Dubai and South Africa. It's a good connection. You can also do Germany, things like that. You don't usually know that until you know, look online or learn about it. You really can definitely get good deals like that. Another thing on flights too, sometimes they'll announce this thing where it's like, hey, our flight's full, you know, is anyone interested in like waiting a day? Grab those if you can, if you're not in a hurry, because what they'll do is they'll put you up in a hotel, stay there for free, you'll get your next flight included, and sometimes they give you credits and extras, and like an extra flight. So I would definitely jump on those, or they'll put you in business class for the next one, right? So look out for that. You can also use a site called Hotwire, and sometimes you'll get a free trip out of this. So huge way to travel. The biggest hack I have to do free travel is to be a travel influencer. If you can like share the footage with the company, take some really good stuff and put it together, there's a method to do this, and you can be a travel influencer, and it's don't have to be super public. You don't have to have like the most amazing followers, but they want to see the results from you traveling to their resort and getting it free. So you can invest in that, invest some time, and that's how you can travel hack as well. Lastly, my next tip is all about Lyft and Uber and your credit card points. Use those where they're maximized the most. I know like Chase will work with Lyft where you get 5 points back on the Sapphire card, and you can also get points back on whatever travel you're booking if you book it through the credit card company, or if you redeem the points for travel. You're gonna get like 2 times more the dollar value of your traveling experience. Always do a lot of research, do some due diligence. It's when you don't research is that when it gets you and it bites you in the butt. We made it to the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I appreciate you guys for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Well, there it is, MoneyBru tips and tricks. I will see you guys on the next video, and as always, yeah, I'm out of here.